So how would A. Lewis Patterson define expository preaching?
And we had him at our church. We invited him to talk to some of our ministers there. And I think we invited CTS, some of the students came over, and somebody asked him about expository preaching. He couldn't define it. So I'm like, no, he is expository preaching is what I told my preachers. If you want to know what expository preaching is, A. Lewis is expository preaching. But he couldn't define it. He really struggled with defining it, but he demonstrated it at a very, very high level, very high level.
Now, see, that's why, it's a lot of definition. Some people think expository is verse by verse, and that's expository preaching. So, we're not really clear about what a definition of expository preaching is. This is why I keep
if that is it, then I'm not it.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Verse by verse.
Right.
Because what I tend to try to do in my preparation for preaching is I try to have some understanding of the verses that come before the text I preach, the verses that come after the verse I preach. I'm trying to get context. I like to walk around the neighborhood of the text is what I call it. Right. So I walk around that neighborhood of that text to try to get the understanding of what each of those verses mean. But that don't mean I have to say something about every word in every verse. I would be there all day.
I know it, but see, that's the dilemma, that we keep searching for somebody to define what expository preaching is. Not I'm pushing you, I'm just saying.
No, I'm gonna just leave it up to the academicians. Y'all can figure it out. I'm gonna be like, hey, Lewis, I'm just gonna go out and do it.
Well, see, we have to ask practitioners such as yourself. I don't consider myself an expository preacher, though.
Yes, you are. I've heard you preach numerous times. We were in the first time I heard you actually preach. We were in a revival together in was it Baltimore?
Yeah, it was in Baltimore. It was in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
It was in Baltimore.
The first time I heard you preach,
right?
And I didn't know you were that practical in your. I heard about you.
Right.
I just never heard you, and to be that practical in preaching and scholarly, because some people go one way, they're very practical, but not much scholarship. Then others go the other way, they. Very scholarly, but nobody knows what they're talking about can't apply it to anything. But I was really, really impressed.
So I would...
Back to the expository.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying
And you are an expository preacher, but I don't want to limit you by labeling you.
I understand that. I understand that. It's just, it's like what, Supreme Court said, we know art, but we can't define it, but we know it when we see it.
Yes, that was a nice way to put that.